So now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce today's first speaker, Al Goldsmith, VP with Ipsos's Mystery Shopping practice in the US. Al, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you, Ellen, and thank you all for participating in today's webinar regarding reopening your office doors and keeping them open. As much as you recall, I can remember it like it was just yesterday, on Monday, March 23rd, with the COVID crisis becoming more and more increasing throughout the U.S., a lot of major offices and businesses closed their doors, including offices or businesses such as Apple, Amazon, and Ford. And all these are closed now. Some have reopened, but some are, staying closed. With that in mind, as a global leader in mystery shopping services and compliance audits, Ipsos is currently doing 1.3 million mystery shops annually through 160 different countries in the U.S. As part of that, we do a lot of work with a lot of major companies within the world, doing mystery shopper compliance audits where we go out and visit locations, retail locations, restaurants, just to make sure employees are carrying out the brand message and the marketing message is correct. During this time period, we experienced a lot of delays in programs, actually pausing of programs. A lot of our clients were suffering with their business, losing customers due to the COVID crisis because nobody was leaving their home. So we took it upon ourselves to start thinking and figuring out what could we do to help our clients and how can we help them get their customers to come back? How can we get their customers come back with confidence and know once they go back to the locations that they felt safe? So we came up with a program or a product that we started offering our clients, what we called the Consumer Health and Safety Audit, or as we like to call it, the chassis. And what the chassis included was basically a syndicated study that we targeted 7 different industries, including oil and gas, restaurant, big box, telecom type companies. That what we did is we did a consumer survey where we went out and interviewed 2,000 to 3,000 consumers on their opinions about COVID and going back into the market and their businesses. And what did they feel was important for them to go back into a location? And then we actually did over 5,000 mystery shops as part of this syndicated study where we went out to see how each company or brand was doing within those meeting the COVID restrictions. And we did this program. We started in May. We're getting ready to roll out Wave 2 in July and in August. With that in mind, even Ipsos, we have our own offices globally that we had to shut down and everybody was working from home, but we knew we were going to have to start reopening our doors to get back into business. And our own CEO, Pierre Lamont, even made the comment, he goes, he would want to be at each location as we open our doors. And he knew that he could not do that. And he knew that other CEOs or other senior management at other companies were going to have that same desire. So he actually asked the Mystery Shop Group or Ipsos's Channel Performance Group to take a little twist off of the chassis program and make it more of a workplace safety audit, which we've been working over Joe and I and Savannah have been working over about the past 2 months, putting this offer together for our clients. So with that in mind, what we'll be covering today is just what is involved with the workplace audit. It includes some proprietary data that Savannah will go over and our reopening plan, the actual audit solution, and then at the very end have an audit office checklist that we can review with you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Savannah. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Al. So in today's world, obviously, we have a problem, and businesses really need to be sure that their offices are ready for their employees to come back. Some businesses have actually opened only to have to close again, and then others haven't even been able to open at all. It's a completely varied world out there right now. And so to make sure that you can open up your offices and keep them open, it's going to take some work. And there's a lot of variables at play here. At Ipsos, we offer the solution to help you navigate the uncertainty around opening your offices, and it's called the Workplace Health and Safety Compliance Audits. With these audits, we can help you cut through the confusion of whether or not you're ready to open and whether you have the processes and tools to be able to stay open. And that's not going to be easy, because not only do you need to make sure your offices are safe, but you also need to make sure that your employees feel safe while they're there and while they're getting ready to go back. And the truth is that right now they're pretty confused about what's going on. We actually conducted a study earlier this month, and we found some pretty interesting points about how employees have been feeling lately. So first off, about 9 out of 10, so almost all employees, have uncertainty about how to plan for their future now because of COVID-19. I don't think that should surprise any of us on this call today. I think we're all a little uncertain about what the future holds. And then next, about 70% of employees view coronavirus as a risk that is at least moderate, if not greater than moderate. Also, though, we have about 50% of people, about half, that are just tired of being cooped up. They don't want to stay home. They want to get out of the house. Yet, still at the bottom here of this slide, we have about a quarter of people who are actually afraid to go out, even if just for necessities or work. So with so many very varying viewpoints on the matter, employers in particular are facing a pretty big hurdle in preparing the workplace for everyone to come back in an environment that can answer all of these concerns from their employees. But on top of their general concerns, employees also have high expectations of their employers. Most employees agree that their company knows how to make the office environment safe, and that their employer will apply what they know to actually make the office environment safe, and also that the employer will sustain health and safety practices into the future. But you have to ask yourself, as you're getting ready to open your offices, can you actually live up to what your employees think you'll be ready for? And if not, that's going to be a problem. And then also you have to consider that, while 80+% of employees feel pretty confident, you have that almost 20% of employees who do not think that their company can do it. So how are you going to answer to them and show them that you're going to create a safe environment for them? And then on top of that, on the right side of the screen, bottom right, you have 73% of employees who think their coworkers are concerned about their well-being. So about 27% who don't think their coworkers are concerned about their well-being. So throw all of that together, it's easy to see that this creates a pretty volatile situation. And then when it comes to what employees think their employees should do for health and safety around the office, we were able to gather some interesting findings here as well. About 83% of people feel that their company should provide personal protective equipment and distancing protocols at work. So they feel the company should be providing those things and not the employees individually. Specifically, if we look at the left half of the slide here, more than half believe that hand sanitizer should be provided by the employer, and about half believe that masks should be supplied. About a third believe that a mask policy should be put in place by their employers, and about a quarter believe that temperature checks should be mandated before allowing employees to enter the office buildings. And then on the right side of the screen, as far as the spaces in an office that have employees the most concerned, we have 48% of employees that are concerned about restrooms, 31%, that are concerned about kitchens and cafeteria areas, and then 28% that are concerned about personal workspaces. So in order to keep employees feeling safe, we really have to make sure that we're addressing all of these areas as we get ready to open offices back up. So with all of that data that we were able to capture in mind, you might be asking yourself, and hopefully you are asking yourself, what can you do to make sure that you're ready to open your offices and to stay open? Well, first and foremost, it is really important that you create a comprehensive, well thought out plan to put in place for your reopening. And then once your health and safety plan is implemented, you're going to need to ensure that you're consistently adhering to that plan. Regularly auditing your offices to make sure that you're sticking to the health and safety protocols is important so that you can make sure that you're consistently doing what it takes to keep employees feeling safe and to keep your offices open. Specifically, auditing your offices for health and safety protocols on a regular basis can help you create a culture of best practices that'll help your employees help them to feel good about working for you. You'll also make sure that you comply with any government mandates so that you don't have to worry about bad press or costly fines or anything like that. And you can also have the confidence and peace of mind that your offices are running smoothly. Specifically at Ipsos, we have put together our own plan for reopening our offices. And this plan is pretty thorough. It specifically outlines the protocols put in place to make sure our offices are safe. And specifically, I'll run through this because it may be helpful for you as you're considering opening your offices. We have put together some training and communication focusing on health and safety. So we put an HR training certification in place so that our employees can take that training and make sure that they're up to speed on health and safety as they get ready to go back into the office. Also, in each of our offices that we've opened, we have a video playing in the lobby to talk about our reopening plan to make sure that any visitors are aware of the health and safety protocols that we've implemented in the offices. We've also posted maximum capacity signage as well as social distancing signage throughout the office to make sure that as people are walking through, they're consistently reminded of what needs to take place in those regards. For our workspaces, the individual workspaces specifically, we have blocked off every other desk to allow for that proper distancing. We now have a clean desk policy. We also are properly sanitizing the workspaces more thoroughly than we used to. We also have implemented a method of putting stickers on chairs to indicate where you can and can't sit. And then for shared spaces, we have implemented one-way traffic flow. Also, we've posted 6-foot circular markers in common areas to make sure that people know how far apart 6 feet is. We've also installed foot door openers. We've also installed automated hand sanitizer in the common areas, and we've also installed antimicrobial laminate on door handles, elevator buttons, copiers, coffee makers, any of those places that are high touch. We want to make sure that they're staying clean. And then also employee goodwill is really important. Employees are a little anxious right now, so anything that we can do to help them feel comfortable is helpful. So we actually put together a welcome kit for employees who are going back to the office. It has a little individual hand sanitizer in it, a tissue pack, Ipsos branded mask, as well as a few other things to make sure that they're prepared and ready for the office environment. And then we also allow them to self-validate their own well-being. So obviously, if they have a fever, they should stay home. If they're not feeling well, they are able to stay home and work from home if need be. To make sure that they're as comfortable as possible and that they're also keeping everyone else safe. So some other companies have had varied levels of success in opening their workspaces. Al mentioned at the beginning Ford and Apple as companies who have been kind of in the press and have had to close. And they both have had different successes and failures as far as reopening or not during COVID. For example, in May, Ford had to close one of its plants after some employees tested positive for COVID. Now, obviously, that can happen to anyone at any time. You know, we never know. But companies who consistently implement health and safety measures can prevent this from happening and from this costly risk closing down their offices or their plants again. So for a Ford plant and for any other sort of manufacturing plant, that could mean that no cars or no widgets are being built until they can open back up again. And obviously that leads to a loss of productivity and potentially a loss of potential sales. So that is an issue, and we want to make sure that once you open, you can stay open. Amazon has also had some interesting policies in place as well. They recently decided to extend their work at home options for corporate employees. The article on the screen here says that they extended that until early 2021 for working from home, but we just recently found out that they've actually extended it even further. But that's for their work at home employees. We all know that Amazon actually has a whole lot of essential employees that are out there in the field every day. And for them, Amazon has made a number of different process updates, from enhanced cleaning to social distancing measures and new efforts like disinfectant spraying. They've also distributed personal protective gear and implemented mandatory temperature checks for their employees. So they've done all of that for their field employees. And then also, as part of Amazon, we know that they now own Whole Foods. And from the syndicated Consumer Health and Safety Index study that Al referenced earlier, we learned that Whole Foods is actually the #1 retailer in the grocery category when it comes to consistency in health and safety measures. So Amazon, while they did originally get some maybe bad press that was COVID related, it seems like they've really turned things around and are on the right track. So to keep in mind, keeping in mind what employees are thinking and what other companies are doing, I'm going to pass it to Joe to explain a little bit more about the Ipsos Workplace Health and Safety Compliance Audit Solution. Joe, take it away.
Thank you, Silvana. And good morning and afternoon, everyone, depending where you may be. Silvana just gave 2 examples of companies that they opened and closed, or they're simply just postponing the re-entry of employees to return to the office. And they're certainly not alone in this and trying to make this business decision. And you may be in the position where you're trying to answer this question for your company of how and when to open. And the intent of the workplace health and safety audit is really to mitigate the risk of closure once you decide to reopen, and to become part of your company's playbook to really help instill the confidence in the employees returning to work, establish that culture of well-being, and to ensure compliance to new policy that's being implemented. An auditor, when they visit each of your office locations, will work with the operations on-site lead to ensure that all procedures and areas are properly evaluated. And the topics that we're measuring during a workplace health and safety audit are listed on the right here. So we're going to be looking at distancing to ensure that all employees are maintaining that 6-foot distance throughout the office. We'll check and see if there's the presence of signage and messaging, which are reminders throughout the office of the new policies being presented. If hand sanitizers are available throughout the entire workspace, and employees are following the wearables policy, whether they need to be wearing a mask when they get up away and walk around the office building and away from their individual workspaces, and are there presence of barriers when applicable and appropriate, and just the overall cleanliness of the office environment. And we do realize that each office is unique and the layouts can be different. And our audit tool is designed to measure all the areas of an office, to include the top 3 areas of concern that Silvana mentioned: the kitchen, the restroom, the personal workstations. These are the areas that our employees are really nervous about coming back to work and being in those areas. And once they are in the office, they're reluctant to maybe get up and move into these areas just because of the fear that we've found in the data. So we'll work with you in designing the audit for each of your offices, and it'll be customized as to what areas need to be measured when the auditor is on site at your location. A little information about the auditors themselves. Safety is of top priority. We want to ensure the safety of not only your customers and employees, but as well as the auditors. So we developed the auditor safety certification, which will be leveraged for this program. And what this means is each auditor receives a thorough screening, training, and gets guidelines on safe auditing practices based on the CDC's current recommendations, to include wearing a face mask throughout the audit, maintaining a 6-foot distance from any of the teammates in the office, and ensuring that they're using hand sanitizer frequently throughout the audit. And once they review the training materials, the auditors must take and pass a certification. So they actually receive a health and safety audit certification, and they have to receive a score of a 100% on that quiz before they can go out and conduct these audits. And while they're on site, they have to take a picture of themselves in their face with their face mask on and their gear to prove to us that they were compliant to our policy while they conduct the audit. And just for added professionalism, these auditors are background checked and drug tested. So what does an on-site journey look like for the auditor? First, when they arrive, the auditor will complete of any visitor health screening that is required, and they will also ensure that they're staying within any building occupancy limits before they sign in and enter the building. Then the auditor will go up and meet with your office lead and just review the office details and discuss the flow of the audit and in general what to expect for the day. Then the auditor will go out and complete the audit, and they will take photos as appropriate. The photos are to provide evidence of areas where companies may be compliant or non-compliant in certain areas. And the office lead may accompany the auditor at the time of the audit, so they can walk around with the office lead to actually do the audit. Regardless or not, whether they audit together, the auditor will sit down with the office lead after the audit and review the audit report and call out any key call outs from the evaluation. And at that point, the office lead could take some action, but most importantly, the results are submitted online into an assessment tool where your wellness being stakeholders can have access to all the audit results as they happen. And these stakeholders can immediately see the results in their online reporting platform. And this platform is included in the Workplace Health and Safety Audit Program. And it comes with an overall dashboard that will give you a high-level overview of performance and compliance and identify trends. And it has the capability to drill down to location-level individual audit reports. And here they can see all the attributes that were measured at each location, and they can really identify specific areas of non-compliance for quick action. And we also have what we can put in place, what we call hot alerts. And hot alerts are kind of immediate systematic notifications that can go to any stakeholder that needs to be notified and made aware of any non-compliance for a specific attribute. And in this system, there's no limit on the number of users, and then user entitlements and securities can be set so they can only see the data that's relevant and actionable for them. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to Al to talk about some of the additional features of the program. And Al, you have the floor.
Thank you, Joe and Savannah. The Ipsos Workplace Health and Safety Audit is a game changer for you as you make your office COVID compliant. But some of the things that Savannah and Joe mentioned in their piece, we wanted to add also that there's some additional options that we can add to your program. One of the things, being one of the leaders in CX work throughout the world, Ipsos can offer you the voice of the employee surveys, where we can actually monitor what your employees think of the program or if they have any concerns. And this could all be made available to you through the portal that Joe just mentioned. We can also offer, as you want to do more than one workplace audit with the Ipsos compliant auditor, we can set it up where you can do your own self-assessments, where you can designate employees at your location that could do these audits, basically based on the same criteria that we're using when we go in to do the audit. And those also can be made available where it can be debriefed, as we call it in the business, through the portal, where you can actually see the results of your own self-assessment. And something that's really cool that we've been, it's something called our live occupancy counter, which is something we use a lot within the grocery industry, universities, and other businesses, where it actually monitors the traffic within a location. The live occupancy counter can be used, where you saw earlier where your employees are concerned about conference rooms, kitchen, where it will monitor the capacity levels within those locations. So if one of your employees is sitting at their desk and they wanted to go in to heat up their lunch in the microwave, they could see that its a capacity level was full, but as soon as it opens, they could get up and go and walk into the area and feel safe that, it's not overcrowded. What should you do? What your company should do, as Silvana mentioned earlier, is to put together a health and safety checklist. Review the local health and safety protocols. Definitely create a playbook. We can help with that as we start talking about some of the health and safety audits. Communicate with employees is key. Your employees need to know what you expect of them. Also, it gives them the feeling of ownership that they're involved with keeping the locations safe. And then implement. Using and working with Ipsos Workplace Health and Safety Audit. Help us measure consistently throughout your offices or just one office. Correct any non-compliance. That's something that you can, look at any time of the day on the portal to see where your office may be falling non-compliant, where you can address it. And then adapt. Just make this part of your culture moving forward, because COVID's not going to go away. And this is going to be something that's going to be a demand from your employees moving forward. Ipsos Health and Safety Compliance Audit. Well, one is Silvana mentioned earlier, it will create an employee culture of best practices and well-being throughout your office. It will provide compliance with local, state, and federal regulations, which could cause you money. And biggest of all, it's going to build employees' confidence that your workplace is healthy and safe. What is that going to do? That's going to help your brand stay strong and get bigger and increase sales or maintain sales with your current customers, because you have the faith of your employees at work. While your business will, after doing these audits, it will stay healthy, it will stay safe, and stay compliant, as well as stay open. Thank you. And how do you sign up to contact us? You can see our contact information here for Al, me, of course, Silvana, and Joe. Thank you.
That was really great. Silvana, Joe, and Al, were there any questions that were submitted?
Yes, so it looks like we have a couple of questions that have come in. If you do have additional questions, feel free to submit them via the chat feature. But meanwhile, we can start with some of the first ones we received here. So Al, I'll give this one to you. How much does an audit cost?
The typical audit that we estimate is going to be about $700 per audit, which is based on 6,000 to 8,000 square foot office. And we're assuming the audit's going to take up to 3 hours. Now, depending on what your needs are and your office makeup, program management and setting up the portal, if there's any custom needs, those are all going to be tailored to what each client needs. But the basic cost is $700 per audit.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Each of my offices is set up differently and has different needs. Can you accommodate that? Al, why don't you take that question?
Yes, most definitely we can do this. I mean, we do this in a lot of our other programs that we do for clients, but it's custom to your needs. We'll make the instructions and the method of the mystery or the audit specific to the location structure. Guidelines can be tailored, what we want our auditors to look for and when to look for it. And then any kind of specific modifications that can be made to remove sections or whatever, just to customize it to your location. So the whole audit will be really just focused on your needs and your structure of your office.
All right, perfect. Okay, let's see. Next question here. My offices are just about ready to reopen. How long will this program take to set up and get running? So Joe, why don't you take that one?
Sure, thanks, Silvana. So once the reopening plan is final, which Ipsos can help you with establishing that and communicating that out. We can begin setting appointments typically within 3 to 4 weeks. And that time allows for us to modify the measurement tool that we have to tailor it for each of your office needs, as well as get the portal ready. So we can be setting appointments just about 3 to 4 weeks out from when the plan is final.
Awesome, thank you. And Joe, why don't you take this next one as well? Will you help us put a reopening plan together?
Sure, absolutely. So yes, Ipsos will help you with the questionnaire and the guidelines, which are the shopper and auditor training materials. The current ones right now, the base design incorporates the CDC recommendations, but ultimately each office needs to adhere to their local and company specific needs, and that's where the customizations and come into play, and we'll work with the clients to modify those guidelines and make them current. So definitely there'll be some workshops together with the clients to customize and tailor them to their needs.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, I think we will probably take one last question, and then any others will be responded to via email directly. So question is, will Ipsos be implementing this for their own offices? And I will go ahead and take that one. So at Ipsos, we have opened some offices already, but we are on pause before opening more, just given the current situation right now. We're taking CDC and government advice regarding how we should move forward. But once our offices reopen again, we are planning to reschedule our location audits to make sure that we're ready for all of our teams of employees at each of our offices to come back into the office. So while we do have a comprehensive plan that I shared with you earlier, we are constantly reevaluating that to make sure that it's still fit for purpose. And as we begin reopening, we will make any modifications needed and then conduct the audits on those modifications that are made. So yes, we are looking forward to implement these audits in our offices as we continue to reopen.
Wow, that was really great, Savannah. And also thank you to Joe and Al for today's really interesting presentation. Of course, thank you to everyone here for joining us today. If we didn't get to your question, then we will do so by email, and you will also receive an email with a direct link to today's recorded presentation. Remember, there are some reference handouts in the event console for more information about our mystery shopping and audit solutions. And of course, we welcome the opportunity to speak with you, so feel free to reach out to us directly. Our contact info is displaying in front of you. So that now concludes today's Ipsos webinar. Have a wonderful day.